Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. The first motif is blindness. One of the most important motifs in the novel, the idea of blindness represents the larger, general idea of ignorance. It shows how people will actively avoid seeing the truth, even if it's right in front of them. There's a constant repetition of people's inability to notice the things they don't want to notice, and a refusal to act on injustices seen, simply because inaction and ignorance is easier. Another major aspect that Ellison covers with blindness is how those who are blind are the ones who are in control. The motif of blindness addresses a major theme of how thoughtless societal conformity damages the greater good, and this must be overcome before true change can be made. Beginning the novel, this is the first instance of the word blindness. In this quote, Invisible Man introduces the idea of the world's blindness and how this lends to his invisibility. As others choose to look past him and ignore him, in this moment, the motif of blindness has begun, beginning the understanding that blindness is a hindrance for those who are blind, but a tool for those who are not. Throughout the fighting of the Battle Royale scene, Invisible Man's sight is blocked by these white blindfolds. This quote shows how in the beginning of the novel, he allowed himself to be blinded by the powerful, by the white man, by society. This sets up the growth and transformation that Invisible Man goes through as the novel progresses, and how he will overcome this willing blindness. After the debacle with Mr. Norton, Invisible Man is listening to Homer Barbie's sermon. Barbie tells the story of the founder and Dr. Bledsoe and inspires the students of the college who are clearly engrossed by the tale. As Barbie walks away, Invisible Man realizes that Barbie is blind, pushing the idea that the blind are also leading the blind. Barbie blindly follows the founder and praises Bledsoe, leading students to similarly follow the ideals of the founder and Bledsoe, ensuring that the students are kept down in society, while Bledsoe is kept above. This quote marks Invisible Man giving his first big speech with the Brotherhood. Invisible Man begins saying the truth that he believes in and is finally starting to see. He talks about how powerful white men see them all as dumb, blind men, unable to lift themselves up. Interestingly, he begins to identify with those who are put down by the society, calling them all brothers. He begins to inspire the crowd by playing on this view, by saying that they must work together to uplift themselves in society. Two crippled blind men can work together, despite the challenges they will face, and will be unable to overcome and uplift each other. Following Clifton's funeral, Invisible Man is facing the anger of the Brotherhood Head Committee. Angered by Invisible Man's actions to honor Clifton, Brother Jack angrily tells him that he has no personal responsibility outside of the Brotherhood's wishes. In his anger, Brother Jack's eye pops out, showing Invisible Man his true blindness. Invisible Man again faces this idea of the blind leading the blind, and how those leaders are only in it for themselves and not for the greater good. Now, at the end of the novel, Invisible Man has been hiding in the cellar, thinking about his past. As he reflects, he realizes how blind he has been throughout his life, and how he has simply been a pawn, allowing for himself to be blinded by powerful men. It is now that he realizes he is no longer blind. From his isolation, he has gained a new perception and identity as the Invisible Man, bringing the whole novel full circle from that beginning prologue. The next major motif is of alarms and bells. Ralph Ellison uses the motif of alarms and bells, ringing, chiming, and other sound imagery to serve the purpose of an alarm clock. These sounds are telling Invisible Man to wake up, addressing the idea that he is asleep and unable to realize society's truthful struggles. This addresses the main theme that people are asleep and ignorant to the truth behind the problems in society, and they must be jarringly awoken from their dreamlike ignorance. Going back to the Battle Royale scene, there are many instances of bells ringing, playing into the boxing imagery. This is the first instance of the bells of the world ringing, jarringly clanging, trying to get Invisible Man to see that he is being played and used by these powerful white men as entertainment. In this next scene, Invisible Man has been moved away from Harlem to address the women's rights issue. Here, he realizes the loneliness that women face, and he is distracted by this woman in red, a major taboo of the time. The bells begin to ring in this moment, trying to wake him up to the real problem that is present. These women are neglected by their powerful husbands in the Brotherhood, and he realizes how the Brotherhood does not actually care about improving the status of those who are put down by society, and neglects the less powerful people who truly need the attention. Immediately following the death of Todd Clifton, Invisible Man gets his bleak, depressive mood. As he finally gets back to his office, he hears the peddler bell clanging. Invisible Man is realizing that he was asleep, even stating it himself in the chapter before. As he wakes up to the truth that Todd Clifton wasn't killed because of the Sambo dolls or the people, but he was killed because he was black. This realization hits Invisible Man hard. As the bell rings, he begins to wake up. In this scene, Invisible Man has just awoken after being with Sybil. He wakes up to the sound of ringing, a clear use of the idea that the bells are trying to wake him up to society. Sybil tries to get him to ignore the ringing, but Invisible Man finally answers the call. This calls him to the riot in Harlem, showing him the true feelings of the ignored people. Invisible Man is now in the heart of the Harlem riots. He is witnessing intense looting, fires burning, mannequins hanging, and throughout all, he is hearing these burglar alarms and signs. Comparative to the rest of the novel, the sound alarms are much more negative in connotation, subtly addressing the aggressive actions needed to finally awake Invisible Man. This quote directly addresses how he has been awoken by these jarring sounds to the true emotions and damages that society faces.